I mean, that's everything.
Yeah, and I think it is that answer, and very much the main voice that I see in your human design chart is like, what would love do? And that answer changes. You know, how you answer that at 20 years old will be very different to how you answer that at 50 years old. And myself, as I get older, I realize like enabling bad behaviors, that might be loving in the moment that I prevent like pain, but overall in the long-term growth of that person, I'm actually preventing their path. I'm actually holding back their growth by not being honest in this moment. And so I think it is really like deeper exploration. And I think love is so corny in like the spiritual world, but it really is the answer to everything when we can really go into the depths of what love means in a moment.
I actually really like going into the depths of that, because it's not just, shocker with my human design, but but you know, like the whole concept of love isn't, you know, only about loving a spouse or loving a partner or loving your children. It covers so much ground. And I've had this talk, you know, even with things that are going on in the world, if we come at things with more love, and even how you were saying, everything distilled down to love. I know so much conflict happens throughout the world, throughout different cultures, because we don't understand one another rather than extending love to one another. Or, you know, we have different religious beliefs or whatever that is. But when you distill down all the messaging and all the different perceptions, everything at the core, from everything I understand and I've studied, it comes from the exact same place. It comes from love. It comes from acceptance. It comes from faith, believing in something bigger than you. And it just gets so distorted because we all are seeing things through our own perception. So I love how like we are actually having this conversation where, you know, love is such a big thing for me, and you talk about perception so much. I mean, let's bring these together. And I know that we can't all have a uniform perception. You know, we're all perceiving our life through our own lens, but we can choose a more positive perception. We can choose to see things with love, and that will just change the trajectory. It's not that I'm sitting here going, hey, we're going to like create world peace, but like if more people do that, you know, it just will be contagious.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing about love is compassion. And it's like we can only meet ourselves so deeply in love that we can meet others for ourselves. So like, for example, if somebody really annoys me in that moment, can I relate to being that annoying person to somebody else? And that's when I can have compassion for myself, so then I can extend grace and love to that other person because I can put myself in their shoes. So often when we have an emotional charge or trigger, it's because we haven't met ourselves deeply to where we see it so reactively in somebody else that we are going, oh my gosh, like I see myself in this person. Because I think, you know, I always say to my clients and myself, like being in relationship with somebody is like almost having your own business. Like you meet different parts of yourselves when you're single versus in a relationship, when you work for yourself versus when you work for somebody else. We're always opening up and unlayering ourselves to all these different experiences and meeting different parts of ourselves in circumstances that we've never had before. And, you know, with self-love, you can never like hate yourself into loving yourself. It doesn't work like that. The only way is genuinely loving yourself and having compassion.
That is so true. I've talked to other people about that. You know, you don't go from hate to love overnight. You got to like yourself in the middle a little bit. You know, you're not going to go from hating this part of your whole body to just loving, you know, certain parts of yourself. If you don't, like, you have to work on it. You have to almost build up to it. And so self-love, love in general, is almost like a muscle that we have to work so that we can extend it to other people, so that we can understand what it means, so that we can have that compassion for ourselves, so that we can give grace to others. But it's a practice. It's not necessarily just something. It might come naturally when we're children that you instantly just love your parents type of thing. But, you know, as you start to go about the world and you experience more people and more experiences, you have to constantly work it.